A lot of people talk about triple down on your strengths. Triple down on your strengths and don't worry about your shortcomings. That's a whole new thing I'm hearing right now. Maybe it's not new, but it's new to me because I'm not out there really listening to all this stuff. That's the quickest way to never grow. To never grow. If you sit there and have that mentality of triple down on what you're good at, you're never going to grow. You're always going to stay the same. Either you're getting better or you're getting worse. So one thing that helped me out a lot when I was growing up was people always ask me, how do you build mental toughness? Mental toughness, a lot of people have these classes out here. A class on mental toughness, positive thinking, visualization, all these different techniques. Mental toughness is a lifestyle. It's something that you live every single day of your life. When I was growing up, I was a lazy kid. And everybody goes, how did you get to where you're at today? How did you get to where you're running 200 miles at one time in 39 hours? Being so disciplined. It started off, honestly, with recognizing that my bedroom was dirty. My bed wasn't made. I lived a sloppy life. So I took very small increments in my life. I started making my bed. I started cleaning my room. There were dishes in the sink. It started off with doing small house chores. I saw that the yard needed to be mowed. So instead of being told it needed to be mowed, I would mow it. I started doing things, coming outside of my lazy ways to become better. And through a period of time, your brain doesn't like it, but it starts to realize this is a new way of thinking. We are now doing things that we are uncomfortable doing. We are doing things that we don't want to do. So the brain starts to slowly grow. And let's say you don't like to get up early in the morning time to go run. I hated it. I still hate it. You do that. You live uncomfortable to gain growth. You have to have friction in your life to gain growth. And the only way to do that is to make yourself uncomfortable and get to the point where instead of running from the things you don't want to do, you actually face them and start to gain more and more growth in your life. So that's how I approach all those things. Self-talk, for me, has been the biggest thing in my life. A lot of us have a dialogue that is crap. It's a crappy dialogue. We live in a world right now that is very external. Everything is very on the surface, superficial, everything. And what we're telling ourselves is what we see on TV, is what we see on Instagram, is what we see on Facebook. And we're telling ourselves stuff that doesn't really penetrate to our core, to the inside of our soul. So our self-talk is like, what am I going to wear today? How am I going to look today? I need to act this way today because this way is cool. My self-talk became something that actually made me better. And I had a whole bunch of negative things in my life. And to get to the self-talk portion of it first, you have to quiet all of the phones and social media and all the negativity in the world to get to even hear your own self have a self-talk. You can't have self-talk if you're hearing someone else's dialogue and what they're putting out on social media, how they want you to act, how they want you to dress, how they want you to talk. Everything out there is you're trying to keep up with somebody. You're not trying to find your own self. So you have to clear away all the crap. And how you clear away the crap to even get to your self-talk is you have to get all of the noise of all the crap of the world out of your head. So I call it going to a dark place. You have to get the noise out, quiet your mind down, get all the static out before you can even have a real conversation with yourself. And that self-talk, a lot of times it's very negative because of all the stuff we see on TV, all the stuff we see on social media. You have to create a positive dialogue. There's something I do that I have a demonstration, and I make somebody very strong, and I can make him very weak within 3 seconds. I put self-talk, I put my own voice in their subconscious, and I do something to them that makes them very weak. And they wonder, how in the world do you do this? I do it because I'm putting my own dialogue in your head. I'm telling a person that you're insecure. I'm telling a person that you're weak. And I'm able to make this person almost, they have no strength. And then I give it right back to them. And all day long, we are feeding ourselves the wrong self-talk. It's negative self-talk. So all day long, I'm putting the positive self-talk in my subconscious. I'm making sure that I'm walking around all day long, giving myself the proper fuel to attack the world. That's why I work out hard every day. I work out hard every day because I know the first thing in the morning what I do is I clean my room, I clean my house, I go for a run, I work out. I want to win the war in the morning. Because the second I leave my house, the second you look at your phone, the second you turn the TV on, you're in a battle. All this negativity is coming at you. But if you're able to fuel yourself in the morning, win the war in the morning, so you have the strength to face what you're going to face in the world. The world's going to come at you with lefts and rights. You have to have the right kind of mentality. And that starts by not hitting the snooze button. It starts by waking up. No, you don't want to do it, but that gives you the strength because you did it. If you do it, if you do something you don't want to do every morning, you're already giving yourself the proper self-talk. You're already giving yourself the proper dialogue to attack the people that don't like you, to attack your insecurities, to attack what the world's going to give you. So self-talk comes from belief in yourself. If you're giving yourself self-talk, positive self-talk, but you don't believe it, it's not going to come true. You have to put the work behind what you're saying and believe what you're saying to yourself for that self-talk to become a reality in your subconscious. So no matter what anybody says to you, no matter what you hear, you know the truth. And you're living through the truth, and no one can penetrate that. No one. So this guy just passed me. He said, Goggins, just be average today. Some of you just don't understand. Some of you been average for so damn long, you don't know what it is to do hard work. But there's a lot of you out there who want to be much more than average, but just don't know how to do it every single day, the grind. You need to find someone to oil those fucking gears up. So check it out. This is a mindset. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But there's a motherfucker out there who wants what you have, who wants the position you are, who wants the job you have, who wants the wife that you have, or the husband. There's someone out there hungry and wants everything you fucking have. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But if it is, it's gonna be your ass. So make that a motivation for you. I get a lot of questions about how I lost so much weight. People want to know how they can get started. So basically, you're thinking too much off the bat. When I lost my fucking weight, I didn't look for a trainer. I didn't do all that thinking. I didn't go on Jenny Craig. I didn't do all that shit. What I did was I basically stopped eating so much fucking food. I cut my calories down. So as far as the workout goes, we overthink that also. Until you find a trainer, go out there and start fucking walking. Put some shoes on, start running. Go to the gym, do the elliptical trainer. It's not rocket science. A lot of folks talk about overtraining. You gotta train first before you can overtrain. Sometimes you wake up in the morning time and you're sore and you feel like you're overtrained. No, you got sore fucking legs. Get out of your own head and stop overthinking it. Maybe you were a victim of being called fat growing up. Folks make fun of you and shit. Maybe you weren't the smartest motherfucker in school. And people came at you for that shit. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's great power in adversity. If you're a victim of any kind, make sure you use that shit to become successful. Don't look for revenge, look for the fucking reckoning. And I guarantee you, all those people who fucked with you growing up, you might just be the boss. They'll come looking for a fucking favor. And when they do, you got an option to say okay, or do what I do and say go fuck yourself. Ha! Beware of one thing, motherfuckers. spitting in the wind, that shit comes back in your face. A lot of us are off work today, celebrating a man who fought for equality for all. While we have a long, long, long way to go, this world isn't fair. It's fair enough. I see a lot of blacks, whites, women, lesbians out here grinding, getting after it, very fucking successful. So where's your excuse? I see a lot of finger pointing, tons of people blaming other people for different shit. One big thing is this: fear. Fear keeps a lot of motherfuckers from being successful. It keeps you making excuses for yourself. Fear lives one place and one place only. That's in your mind. Martin Luther King had a dream. Don't let fear fuck yours up. Stay hard. So I went to the dungeon and started using all my insecurities as strength. Instead of looking at being bullied and my dad messing me up and all that stuff like that, I looked at it as, who could have survived all this and still be here with the opportunity to go to Navy SEAL training? And so I started using all these negative things and started flipping everything on top of his head. Instead of saying, woe was me, kicking rocks, head down in the dirt, I started saying, there's not a motherfucker on the planet who would have this opportunity coming from where I came from. They would be a statistic.
Yeah.
So I started looking at it as power versus like big time defeat. And slowly but surely, every day, I started changing the voice in my head, because the most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself.
Yeah.
So I slowly started changing that internal dialogue in my head. And there wasn't no fucking like teacher, there was no shrink, there was no mom saying, hey David, you can do it. No, it was fucking me. And that was where the power came from. The power came from, no one's helping me, no one's coming back to fucking save me, no one's coming back to pull me to the finish line. This is on you. So I saw a lot of power in the fact that if I change this around, I did this. You were bullied.
Yeah.
Do you remember how many nights you spent by yourself in your fucking head thinking about what kind of piece of shit you were?
Yeah.
And how miserable that fucking was?
Yeah.
That's exactly my drive. I know that there's not just me and you. There's millions and millions, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
With all this fucking pressure, man. You can now bully a motherfucker on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in our day, it was face to face. You can do everything over your phone. The pressures of trying to keep up with everything is at an all-time high. And our mindsets are at an all-time low. We are the weakest we've been mentally ever since the beginning of time. And it's even harder. So it's harder with a weaker mind. So all I want to do, my whole drive is about, I have a really good way of visualizing people suffering, because a lot of people do it. We have two sides of us. We have one side that is that happy-go-lucky side, that nothing's wrong and everything is good. But we have that side at home when no one's around, that's depressed and miserable and we're not good enough.
Yeah.
And whatever happened to you is real. So that's my drive. I want to make sure that I give people as much power as I can, so when they get up every fucking morning, they know that, hey, I have the ability to not only survive in this world, but thrive in this world. I believe in life you must earn the right to be called a man. And a lot of people do not think the way I do, and that's fine. I'm not asking you to be David Goggins. Trust me, it's a hard fucking road to hoe. It's not fun.
Like it.
It's not fun all the time. But the thing about it is, you have to look, I looked at my hardships as challenges. Once I got over the pity party, because I went through that phase.
Of course.
I'm a normal human being. But I realized that got me exactly where I was at, even worse. As I looked at those challenges the way most people do, woe is me. Why the fuck can't I get a break? Why? I wished I was better. I wish my parents were better. I wish I had a better education. I wish this, I wish that. They have all these wish sandwiches. I started realizing, how can I fucking figure out how this shit can fucking work for me? So the one thing we don't do is when we're in that dark place is a great learning environment. If you can sit back in a dark place and find quiet to just think, there's so much power in your failures, in your fucking, in your suffering. Because why? You're still alive. Mm-hmm. You're still fucking here. So you gotta look at that shit as, my God, man, this is power, man. Like, now I gotta flip this shit. How many men will be able to do what I'm about to do, what I'm about to try to do? Like, literally, what gave me strength was when I was at the worst of my worst, how many men would even fucking say they want to try to be a Navy SEAL right now? Yeah, very few, if any. I'm at the worst spot of my life. Like, I can't even walk down the street, let alone run down the street. And I'm gonna now call a recruiter up and try to be a SEAL. There's a lot of power in that. Many people have died and lived to be 100 fucking years old and never started their journey. That journey starts when you start to meet yourself at that battle. When you start to battle yourself and start to break down those walls that you in society start to build in your own mind. Once you start to break down those walls, you've now started your journey. Mm-hmm. Your journey has to be hard at first to get through the other side to find peace. But what happens to a lot of us is, even happened to me, so I had to become sick. God made me sick and I couldn't run, I couldn't push anymore. So I had a lot of time to think about my life. And I never reflected back. Through reflections where you find peace. I never reflected back on that shit. I never reflected back on where I came from and where I'm at now, and all the things I overcame. You have to slow your life down enough to respect what you've done for yourself, all the things you overcome. So to find peace, you need reflection. You need a lot of reflection to go back through and respect the journey. So through there, you find your peace. Now, to go back to the suffering part of life after you find peace, it's important because why? You can never think that you've arrived. There must always be growth. Like right now, I'm talking about the black and white issue, gay and lesbian, whatever the fuck you're dealing with issue. There's so much growth in that. There's so much growth in going back to school, going back to get more education, learning another culture, it's just about constantly immersing yourself in something that you're just not comfortable with. Mm-hmm. It's not about running a lot of miles. It's not about, going back to these hard fucking like crucibles of like doing all these different challenges physically. A lot of the hardest challenges in the world are mental challenges of trying to be a better person. So one thing I developed in my life going through hard times is a cookie jar. The cookie jar is all of us have a story. We've all overcome so many things in our lives, but we forget them. And a lot of times we don't spend enough time like reflecting back in our lives, realizing how great we truly are. We go through something, we put it back and we go on. And life is gonna always challenge us, always challenge us. And during that challenging moment, we panic. We forget who we truly are. That cookie jar that I designed for my brain is something that in that 1 second of panic, we lose our mind and we also lose how far we've come in life. You take that 1 second, go through your cookie jar, grab something in your mind, look at it, read it, open it up. Oh, I was in 3 hell weeks. I graduated 2 of them. That's a cookie. It reminds yourself just how hard you are, and it puts you right back into the right frame of mind to overcome whatever's in front of you. And usually, whatever's in front of you isn't as big as you make it out to be. We start to make these very small things enormous because we allow our minds to take control and go away from us. We have to regain control of our mind. And that's what the cookie jar is. It's gaining control of a situation that isn't that big. Most situations in life aren't that big. And if they are that big, usually we can find the strength to handle them just through having the right mental process. The 40% rule is something I designed also when I was growing up. I realized when I was 300 or almost 300 pounds and I lost all the weight to become a Navy SEAL, I realized that I could have lived the rest of my life being a 300-pound person, never knowing what was truly inside of me. I could have been happy with that person. I was living at about 40%, maybe not even 40%. So in life, like a lot of cars have governors on them. A governor is something where, let's say the speedometer says 130 miles an hour. You put a governor on a car, it may only go 91 miles an hour because that governor stops that car from going 130. We do the same thing to our brain. When our brain starts to go through suffering, when our brain starts to go through pain or starts to go through insecurities, when we start to feel uncomfortable with ourselves, our brain gives us a way out. And that way out is usually quitting or taking the easier route. If we're able to look at ourselves and face whatever we're running from, you start to gain more percent on top of that 40. You start to realize, okay, you start to slowly take that governor off your brain. We can do a lot more than we think. And like at work, a lot of us have a horrible mentality at work. We go to work, we put all these negative things in our brains, and it starts to cap our potential. We cap our potential by saying we're giving 100%. No one's really giving 100%. Usually you're giving 40% because that governor is stopping you. You feel pain, you feel suffering, you feel discomfort, you stop right there. Everybody has a wall in their mind. It's a wall, and it stops us from going further. Most walls have a door or a window. You have to find that. You have to have the courage to find that. And once you open that door or that window, you'll realize how much further you can go. And you're going to continue hitting doors and windows along this journey, but you have to have the courage to open them up to get to that 100%. So it's all about having the courage and realizing that we have a governor. We have to push past that governor and past our own mind games. When it's suffering, when it's in pain, all it wants to do is find an easy way out, which is usually quit. If you quit, the pain goes away immediately. You gotta give yourself enough energy and fuel in your mind to stay just a little bit longer so you can talk yourself into staying for the whole thing. We forget that we put years, maybe not into making these dials, but to getting where you're at today.
To become this person.
To become this person, to be in a position to make this money, whatever the fuck you want to make, whatever you want to do in your life. We forget that. We forget that journey on what it took for us to get in this moment to make the right decision. So that's my self-talk is this. Okay, I want to get the fuck out of here, man. I'm done. Then I remember this. You ran 2,000 miles training to be in this moment right now. We forget that. We forget the 3 o'clock in the morning runs or getting up early for work or whatever you're doing. We forget all that. In that moment of suffering, I remind myself, I only have 50 more miles. I put in 6 months of training. So what I do, my self-talk is basically going back down memory lane of all those fucked up days. I ran in the fucking rain, or I had to fucking study real late at night, and I didn't want to do it, but I did it to get here.
That's the hook.
That is the hook.
That's the hook.
I wanted to get here. Now you're here, and now you want to fucking quit? All this like people want to be all positive, all this positive talk, it doesn't work if it's a lie. Like, if you didn't study for your big exam, and you go into it saying, I'm gonna pass it, no, you're not. You're gonna fucking fail it. That self-talk is not gonna work. Self-talk without real work is just a lie. So my self-talk is me reminiscing back on the struggle to get to this moment. And that tells me we're not quitting today. Not today.